Welcome to Spicy Lady. People do not always leave their lives. Sometimes your interest in them quietly does. There comes a point where a SpicyLady-Sigma does not feel tired of living, but tired of the way people move within her life, not in a dramatic or emotional breakdown way, but in a quiet moment of realization where things simply start to look different. She still has goals. She still enjoys her own company. She still moves through life with focus and curiosity, but something shifts in how she experiences people. Conversations that once felt engaging now feel repetitive. Effort that once felt mutual now feels uneven. And attention that once felt meaningful now feels temporary. It is not that she hates people. It is that she starts seeing patterns she can no longer ignore. She notices how often words do not match actions, how quickly interest fades when convenience is gone, how many interactions are based on timing rather than real connection, and slowly she begins to pull her energy inward, not out of anger, but out of awareness. You might see her as someone who is present, but not overly available. Someone who listens more than she speaks, but only when it feels worth her attention. Someone who no longer entertains every conversation the same way she used to. This is not about becoming distant for the sake of it. It is about becoming clear on what deserves access to her time, and what is not. In this video, we're going to break down 10 powerful signs that show a SpicyLady-Sigma is not tired of life itself, but simply done with draining patterns in people. Stay with this until the end, because some of these signs are subtle, and you may realize you have been feeling them without even naming them. Let's dive deeper. The Spicy Lady. Number 1. She doesn't hate people, she hates performance. What drains a SpicyLady-Sigma is the constant acting, fake laughter, forced interest, and rehearsed reactions that fill most social spaces. She does not hate people. That would be too simple and honestly not even true. What wears her out is the performative energy that comes with most human interactions, the constant acting, the way conversations feel scripted before they even begin, the polite laughter that comes a second too early, the interest that sounds right but feels empty. It is not the presence of people that drains her. It is the lack of anything real in how they show up. She starts noticing it in small moments. Someone asks how she is, but their eyes are already scanning the room. A friend laughs, but it sounds practiced, like they have used it 100 times before in the same exact way. Even compliments begin to feel recycled, handed out more from habit than genuine meaning. And the strange part is she realizes she has done it too. She has smiled when she did not feel like it. She has nodded just to keep things smooth. She has played her part to avoid tension. That realization hits differently. That is where the exhaustion comes from. Not from people themselves, but from the unspoken pressure to keep the act going, to respond in ways that are expected, not honest, and to stay engaged in conversations that have no depth, no risk, no truth. For a SpicyLady-Sigma, this awareness changes everything. She starts craving moments where nothing is forced, a conversation where silence is not awkward, a laugh that comes naturally, not on cue. Even a simple exchange that feels honest becomes more valuable than hours of empty interaction. She begins to pull back, not in anger, but in search of something real. Because once you see the performance clearly, it becomes hard to sit through it like it is normal. And the more she values authenticity, the less patience she has for anything that feels staged. Number 2, she constantly edits herself around others. She edits herself around others not out of fear, but because being fully honest would create unnecessary awkwardness, and she is tired of managing that endless tension. There is a quiet moment she starts catching herself in real time. Mid-sentence, something in her pauses. She adjusts her words, softens a point, leaves a raw truth unsaid. Not because she is afraid of judgment, but because she already knows exactly how her honest words will land. She can predict the awkward silence, the shift in energy, the defensiveness. So she tones herself down. At first, it feels harmless, just basic social awareness, knowing how to keep interactions smooth. But over time, it becomes deeply exhausting. Not because she cannot speak freely, but because she is constantly calculating how much truth each moment can actually handle. She notices this pattern everywhere. Someone makes a statement she disagrees with, but she lets it slide to avoid a long, draining argument. A person asks for her opinion, but she gives a watered-down version that will not disrupt the group mood. She is present in every interaction, but never fully expressed. For example, she might be in a group where everyone aligns on a shallow or flawed perspective. She could speak up to add depth and clarity to the conversation, but she already senses the resistance. People want to defend their views, not explore new truths. So she stays quiet, not because she has nothing to say, but because she is tired of fighting to be heard. This is where emotional fatigue builds. Not from silence itself, but from the constant internal adjustment, the quiet filtering of her authentic thoughts to fit the comfort of the room. Slowly, she begins to question this cycle internally. Why does honesty have to feel like disruption? Why does truth need to be reduced just to keep people comfortable? So she pulls back from spaces that force her to shrink herself. She speaks up only when it feels worth her energy and stays silent when it does not. This is not a manipulative strategy. It is pure self-respect. She finally understands a vital truth. If she constantly has to dim her thoughts to maintain connection, that connection is already limited. No matter how smooth it feels on the surface, it will always cost her more peace than it gives back. Number 3. She sees performed empathy versus real consistency. A spicy lady Sigma quickly learns to spot people who perform empathy instead of practicing it. Words of support are everywhere, but consistent, genuine action is extremely rare. On the surface, empty support sounds convincing. I understand. I'm here for you. You can always count on me. These phrases land perfectly in the moment, creating an illusion of care. But over time, she notices an undeniable gap. The words are always there, but the follow-through never comes. She watches people offer warm, attentive comfort during emotional, high-spotlight moments. They sound compassionate, present, and deeply concerned. Yet when the spotlight fades, when quiet, consistent support is truly needed, they disappear entirely. No check-ins, no quiet effort, no ongoing care. Only silence once the emotional moment passes. She also recognizes that many people use performative empathy to control how others perceive them. They memorize caring phrases to look kind and thoughtful in public, but their daily actions never match their words, and she knows the truth. Real empathy is not loud, dramatic, or performative. It is consistent. It shows up even when it is inconvenient, even when no one is watching, even when there is no reward for being caring. This awareness rewires how she connects with people. She stops being easily moved by empty words alone. Not because she is cold, but because she now prioritizes patterns over promises. A single kind sentence can no longer outweigh repeated absence and inconsistency. She still listens to others' words, but she observes their behavior far more closely. She appreciates kindness, but she values steady, reliable presence above all else. Once she sees this difference clearly, she stops investing in people who only know how to sound supportive, but never live up to their own words. To her, empathy is never what you say in a moment of crisis. It is what you choose to do consistently over time. Number 4. She stopped expecting depth where there is none. A quiet, powerful shift happens within every spicy lady Sigma. She does not hate people. She simply stops expecting emotional depth from people who are incapable of giving it. Hating someone requires heavy emotional attachment and resentment. What she experiences is far more subtle and mature. She releases unrealistic expectations. In the past, she always gave people the benefit of the doubt. She assumed everyone had hidden depth, that genuine connection would bloom if she listened hard enough, waited long enough, or invested enough care. Sometimes that paid off. Most times it did not. She encountered endless surface-level conversations, unclear intentions, and inconsistent effort. Over time, a crucial pattern became impossible to ignore. Not everyone wants deep connection. Not everyone is capable of emotional vulnerability. Most people prefer easy, comfortable, shallow interactions over honest, meaningful bonds. This realization does not make her angry. It makes her accurate. For example, she may interact with someone who only engages in small talk, jokes, and surface-level opinions. At first, she tries to steer the conversation toward depth and authenticity. But after repeated attempts fail, she adjusts her expectations entirely. She meets people exactly where they are, without forcing them to grow or pretending they are deeper than they show themselves to be. This is the core of her emotional strength. She stops overinvesting in people who have already shown her their limits. She stops overanalyzing shallow actions in search of hidden meaning. She stops feeling disappointed by outcomes that were always inevitable. This is not bitterness. Bitterness clings to frustration and resentment. This is emotional calibration, aligning her expectations with reality. No more, no less. When she masters this mindset, she finds true peace. Not because people changed, but because she stopped demanding others be something they are not. She no longer loses herself in trying to extract depth from shallow souls. Number 5. Her availability is now intentional. Not default. A spicy Lady Sigma outgrows the false belief that constant availability equals kindness. Access to her time, energy, and attention becomes intentional, not habitual. For most of her life, she was always easy to reach. She answered messages instantly, dropped her own plans to show up for others, and made space for people even when it was deeply inconvenient. She once believed this endless flexibility made her a good, kind person, but she slowly uncovered a harsh truth. The more available she was, the more people took her presence for granted. Her time stopped feeling valuable and started feeling like a free, unlimited resource. People messaged her without consideration for her schedule. Plans were made assuming she would always adjust. Her efforts were expected, never celebrated. That is when the shift began. She stopped being available by default, and no longer does everyone get equal access to her energy. She now pauses and asks herself 3 critical questions before committing. Do I genuinely want to do this? Is this worth my limited energy? Or am I only agreeing out of old, mindless habit? The change is subtle but powerful. If someone calls her late at night expecting an immediate response like they always have, she lets it ring and replies on her own timeline, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. If people invite her out last minute with no prior consideration, she no longer rearranges her life to accommodate them. She evaluates if the interaction aligns with her peace and goals, and declines firmly if it does not. This shift never diminishes her kindness, it redefines it. True kindness includes boundaries, honesty, and the courage to say no. Kindness without self-preservation is just self-abandonment. The right people adapt. They respect her time, approach her with intention, and value her presence. The people who only loved her for her free, endless availability slowly fall away. In the end, she learns a vital lesson. When availability is no longer automatic, people finally reveal how much they truly value you. And she only chooses to be present for others out of choice, not obligation. Number 6. She fiercely protects her mental environment. A spicy Lady Sigma understands that her mind is not a public space for anyone to pollute. It is her most sacred private asset, and she guards it quietly, consistently, and unapologetically. She no longer allows every person, conversation, and negative energy unrestricted access to her mental space. Her boundaries are not loud or dramatic. They are small, daily choices that preserve her peace. Her first rule is simple. She measures every interaction by what it leaves behind, not just what it says on the surface. Some conversations leave her feeling clear, grounded, and energized. Others leave her confused, pressured, heavy, and drained for no obvious reason. That residual feeling becomes her ultimate guide. She stops treating gossip as harmless small talk. To her, gossip is just mental clutter that poisons perspective. She stops entertaining endless, looping complaining that has no goal of change or growth. She walks away from fake honesty that is just thinly disguised negativity. In the past, she would sit with negative people, offer advice, and try to fix their cycles. Now she listens briefly, then steps back. She understands that not every toxic emotional pattern deserves her time or energy. She also avoids pointless conflict, circular arguments, one-sided debates, and situations where emotion overrides reason. She no longer feels the need to prove her point or win every disagreement. Walking away is not avoidance. It is disciplined self-preservation. Her world becomes smaller, quieter, and infinitely lighter. Her conversations are fewer, but far more meaningful. Her mental space is no longer crowded with other people's noise, problems, and negativity. She has learned the hard truth most people ignore. Everything you allow into your mind does not just pass through. It settles. It shapes your thoughts, your mood, and your entire outlook on life. Number 7. She stops trying to fix other people. A spicy Lady Sigma stops trying to fix people, not because she stops caring, but because she finally accepts an unspoken truth. People only change when they choose to change for themselves. Once upon a time, she was the person who always stepped in to help. If someone was struggling, she offered guidance. If someone repeated self-destructive mistakes, she pointed them out. If someone drifted off course, she tried to pull them back to stability. All of it came from genuine care. She truly believed that with enough patience, kind words, and guidance, people could grow and improve. But life taught her a painful, necessary lesson. Understanding a mistake never guarantees change. People can fully recognize their flaws, agree with your advice, and thank you for your help, yet still choose comfort and familiarity over growth. Bad patterns feel safer than unfamiliar progress for most people. So she steps back, gently but firmly. For example, she may watch a loved one repeat the same self-sabotaging cycles, complaining endlessly, but never taking action to change their situation. In the past, she would pour energy into advising, encouraging, and fixing. Now she observes silently. She realizes she was never part of their solution. She was just a temporary distraction from their own patterns. This shift does not make her cold or indifferent. It makes her wise. She respects everyone's personal timeline and freedom to choose their own path, even if it leads to pain and struggle. She stops carrying responsibility for other people's choices and mistakes. She releases the burden of fixing what was never hers to fix, and in that release, she finds incredible lightness. Not because the people around her changed, but because she stopped draining herself trying to force change that no advice could ever create. Real care, she learns, does not equal control. Number 8. She feels relieved, not lonely. In solitude, most people fear silence and alone time. For a spicy Lady Sigma, solitude is not loneliness, it is pure relief. Silence is like oxygen after spending too long underwater in chaotic social environments. There is a massive difference between being alone and feeling lonely, and she understands this distinction better than anyone. Society trains people to fill every quiet moment with noise, conversation, and stimulation. People treat silence as an emergency, something uncomfortable that must be fixed immediately. But for her, solitude is restoration. When she is alone, the endless pressure to perform, adjust, explain, and absorb other people's chaotic energy finally fades away, and no more reading between lines. No more managing other people's moods. No more forcing empty conversation to avoid awkwardness. No more draining social obligations, just pure, unfiltered peace. After a long day of navigating social interactions, dealing with other people's needs, and adapting to group energy, coming home to silence feels like a release. She does not rush to turn on music, scroll her phone, or find distraction. She sits in stillness on purpose. In that quiet space, her thoughts clear up, her energy resets, and her body relaxes in ways it never can around constant social stimulation. This is not isolation. This is self-care. This is reconnecting with herself after hours of catering to others. Once she experiences the clear peace of true solitude, she stops fearing silence. She stops treating alone time as a flaw or a failure to socialize. She understands that silence is not emptiness. It is the only place she can truly hear herself again without interruption. Number 9. She has outgrown shallow old conversations. A spicy Lady Sigma slowly outgrows conversations she once enjoyed. Not because she thinks she is better than others, but because her mind has evolved to crave depth, and very few people have followed her growth. It happens quietly, almost unexpectedly. She finds herself in old social circles, participating in conversations that once felt fun and engaging, yet suddenly feels completely disconnected from it all. The people are the same. The topics are familiar, but her attention is no longer fully present. Her mind drifts away from the shallow noise. What once felt entertaining now feels repetitive, empty, and cyclical. The same gossip, the same surface level jokes, the same unoriginal opinions on life and success, recycled over and over again with no growth or depth. In the past, she would fully participate, laugh along, and add to the noise. Now she simply observes, listens, and engages minimally. This is not arrogance. It is mental evolution. Her mind now prioritizes substance over stimulation, meaning over mindless chatter. She does not need every conversation to be deep or complicated, but she can no longer tolerate empty interactions that waste her time and leave her feeling unfulfilled. This shift can feel temporarily isolating as she realizes fewer people align with her new mindset. But it is never bitterness. It is awareness. She is not rejecting people. She is simply recognizing where real connection exists and where interactions are just automatic, habitual noise. She stops forcing interest in shallow topics. She stops stretching empty conversations just to avoid silence. She allows meaningless interactions to fade naturally. Outgrowing old conversations is never about disconnecting from others. It is about finally aligning with her own growth. Once you see the difference between noise and meaning, you can never unsee it again. Number 10. She sees through transactional relationships. A final powerful shift for the SpicyLady-Sigma is her ability to spot transactional relationships instantly. She sees the hidden "what can I get from you" motive behind most social interactions. And once she sees it, she can never unsee it. First, it is just a vague, unexplainable discomfort. Interactions feel normal on the surface, but there is a subtle, calculated energy underneath. Over time, that discomfort sharpens into crystal clarity. Most people connect with others not out of genuine bond, but out of self-serving benefit. The pattern is subtle but consistent. People reach out only when they need a favor, advice, attention, or access to her resources. The second their need is fulfilled, their energy drops off entirely. Their consistency vanishes. Some people stay in touch long term, but every single conversation always circles back to what benefits them. Their kindness is conditional, their interest is temporary, and their care is always self-serving. She notices how people celebrate her when she is successful and useful, but disappear entirely during her quiet, difficult seasons when she has nothing to offer. That contrast speaks louder than any empty compliment or friendly word. This awareness changes how she engages with the world. She stops overgiving to keep people around. She stops feeling guilty for prioritizing her own energy. She carefully tracks the balance of give and take in every relationship. This is not selfishness, it is balance. She does not become bitter, but she becomes observant. She knows not all relationships are transactional, but far more are than most people are willing to admit. Once she distinguishes between genuine mutual connection and one-sided exchange, she naturally steps back from every dynamic that feels like a negotiation instead of a bond. Real connection feels steady, mutual, and honest. Transactional interactions feel draining, forced, and temporary. And she no longer settles for anything less than genuine connection. Final words: sometimes silence is not emptiness. It is clarity finally taking its rightful place. That if you relate to these 10 signs, understand this: you are not broken, distant, or tired of life. You are simply a SpicyLady-Sigma who has become honest about what you will and will not tolerate. You still laugh, dream, build, and move forward with purpose. You still love deeply and connect genuinely with the right people. Life has not lost its meaning for you. If anything, it has become more vivid and intentional. You are no longer distracted by empty social noise and toxic emotional chaos. What has changed is your zero-tolerance policy for stagnant, draining, repetitive patterns in people. You no longer pour energy into conversations that lead nowhere. You no longer overextend yourself just to keep uncomfortable people comfortable. You no longer confuse constant interaction with real, authentic connection. You used to chase misunderstandings to fix them. Now you observe and let clarity unfold naturally. You used to stay in draining dynamics far too long. Now you walk away without guilt. You used to over-explain yourself to earn acceptance. Now you let your silence and actions speak for you. This distance is not born from anger. It is born from understanding. you are not tired of living. You are simply done diluting your peace, your mind, and your life for people who cannot meet you on your level emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You feel different now, not because you have lost anything, but because you have finally let go of everything that was never aligned with your highest self. And once the shift happens, you never go back. Not because you cannot, but because you no longer need to. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Nail polish, I'll see you in the next one.